Welcome. I'm Janel, Koloski, a career mindset coach and actor.
And I'm Amanda DeBraux, a self-authenticity and prosperity life coach and actor as well. And we're your co-host of Mindset Artistry YouTube channel,
where we teach you the art of discovering and using your mindset
to build a career and life you desire. Some awesome sauce. So, being a creative, I finally find myself, and I constantly find myself, where is my river of creativity, right? Because they say it's a river of creativity. What was it? What was that book that I read? The Big Magic. Got it. I got it. My brain is working today. The Big Magic, or Big Magic, was a great book if you haven't read it before. It's a great book about the fact that there's a river of creativity. We just have to allow ourselves to tap into it, basically, right? It's always flowing, it's always accessible to us, but we limit ourselves based on other circumstances, based on blocks, based on limiting beliefs, based on other people's expectations of us, all these things. And we don't give ourselves the freedom to tap into our creativity. And sometimes it can be hard, especially when we're burnt out, especially when we're overwhelmed by challenges that we're facing in the moment, especially when we face like days like this when it's raining and gloomy. It's like, how can I be creative when it just looks so gray and dark outside? Like, what can I do? And one of the things is put on a bright color, y'all. That's one of the things I would say, be the light in the dark. And so I've really felt a passion to talk about this because I've struggled with this quite often throughout my life. And it's because I've had to compete the way that I think and the way that I work, from being logical to be strategic to now giving myself the freedom to be creative. Because creativity comes from being free. You have to give yourself that freedom to just express yourself however you choose and give that sense of a flow within your mind and your body and soul and spirit. And it's also that connectivity within it as well. And so I've struggled with this because I worked in the corporate world and there was very limited access to be creative, at least the department that I was in. I worked in human resources or talent acquisition. And so it was very limited on being creative. I was very about reports, about spreadsheets and things that were just by the numbers, the black and white. There was no color to it. And when I tried, it was shut down. It wasn't encouraged. It wasn't, applauded in a way. And so I allowed that to really dim my light within myself to be creative in the work that I was doing. And I wanted to be creative so that I can connect with the work that I was doing, even though it wasn't my dream job. I wanted to be there, although there was another version of me that goes, I don't need to be here, but that's a whole nother story. But I still was trying. I was still trying to do my best in that version of my life at that time. And so before I jump into the importance of tapping into your creativity, the importance of recognizing that you are a creative being and you have unlimited access to your creativity. Now, what comes to mind when you think about reigniting your creativity, and have you struggled with tapping into your creativity throughout your life?
This reminds me of something that I always try to tell myself when I fall into that. Two things. One, Joni Mitchell, if you don't know who she is, she's amazing. She's a singer. She writes her music, and she said that she never had a writer's block because she crop rotates. So if she's feeling like blocked by writing, she paints or she does something else. So one thing that can help and has helped me is I want to be creative in this area. Maybe it's a scene I have to do for acting. If I'm having a block around it, I might go draw something or paint something just because it feels more free, almost it's like there's not an end goal objective and I'm just being creative. And then the other thing, and I actually had to do this yesterday, was this meditation where it was really about motivation and remembering your why, but that also aligns with creativity. Like, why are you trying to be creative? What are you trying to tell? What story are you trying to tell? And the meditation kind of started out with where are you at currently? If you were a piece of art, and it was all twisted and black and tainted green, and it wasn't cute. And then I went through this whole meditation about releasing and let go, because if you're lacking creativity, because as you said, we are creative beings, you're blocked. And then by the end of it, when I looked at that piece of art again, for some reason, it was shiny and white and bright. And the person who was leading meditation didn't tell me that. They were just like, what do you see? So I would say those are the two things: crop rotate and a meditation, remembering your why, and trying to figure out how to remove those blocks that way and not being hard on yourself about it.
I love that. I love that. Thank you. I appreciate you sharing that, because that is one of the things that I was going to talk about, is that you have to give yourself a break from the task that you're actually trying to be creative in, right? Whatever that may look like, whatever that may feel like, whatever it is. And so, before I dive into one of the tools that Janel just said as well, is that here's the benefit about tapping and reigniting into your creativity. One, you are a pure potentiality. You are a creative being naturally. You were born for greatness here. The minute you were born, you had the unlimited possibility to do anything you want. You were given that gift. Unfortunately, the outside circumstances have suppressed our ability to go that we can do anything, because there are rules and regulations, there are expectations, there are roles that we have to play in people's lives and in our own lives, your work, to your friendships, to your relationships with your partner, to your kids, and to your career. All these nuances and things that we have to do, it really limits our creativity, because it tells us, no, there's a limit. You can't go above this line here. Don't do it, because then we can't control you. We can't control the outcome. It doesn't fit in the box. When you reignite your creativity, it helps you be able to solve problems. It reduces the stress. It increases your resilience. It gives you the power that you need, that's already within you, to keep going. And I got 11:11 to keep going, right? And I don't know, somebody probably needs to hear that at some point in time. But it gives you the ability to say that you can keep going. Hey, Will, I just saw that my comments are not rising, so I have to constantly scroll up to see the comments. Instagram, get it together. And so it also helps you improve your focus and concentration on tasks, and it helps you recognize joy within your life. And not many people can recognize that, because they're so stuck on the outcome, the expectations, the rules, the regulations, the negative emotions, that we miss the joy in our lives. We miss a little moment of a bird flying by. Oh my gosh, that was a blue jay. That was so beautiful. For me, that was joyful. I don't know about y'all. If y'all are not bird people, that's okay too. You don't have to be bird people. That's okay. You can look at the clouds and look at the shapes. Go back to being a kid. Now that brings me into how to reignite your creativity. You gotta tap into your inner child, the healthy inner child, the nurtured inner child, the free inner child who believed that she was a doctor, or they were a doctor with their teddy bear and doing the celestis. What is it called again, Janelle? When you put the heart and you can hear it, whatever. Y'all know what I mean. It's there in my head. I just having a struggle moment of saying it, but you all know what I mean. And so be that kid. I remember being a kid and talking to my teddy bears as if I was in front of a class and teaching. God knows what I was teaching. Maybe 1 + 1 = 2. Stethoscope. She said it. It happens sometimes to me. And you know what? It's okay. I'm only human. So, I remember that. And that, guess what? That was my creativity being ignited. I gave myself the freedom to believe in the impossible, that my teddy bears were real students and I was teaching them, right? And so one of the ways that you can tap into creativity, like Janelle said, and I'll jump on that first, is the fact is step away from the task that you're trying to achieve right now. Because what's happening is you're putting blinders on. You're closing the road. It's like a roadblock. You're closing the road. It's like, oh, you're driving down you're driving down the road, and all of a sudden it's like a detour. And it's like, oh, nope, you can't go that way. Oh, the bridge is down. There's rocks there. There's bumps there. And you're like, how do I get out of this? It feels that way. That's your roadblock. That's your intellectual roadblock. That's your creativity roadblock. And so one of the best ways to do is to step out of that car, to take a pause, listen to music, to dance out, find another way to be creative. Really allow your brain to just let go of that current task and focus on something else. And that could be, I'm gonna do 20 jumping jacks right now to ignite the adrenaline within myself, to get my body moving, to get the blood flowing, because being stagnant in one place can also limit your creativity, because you're telling your body to stay still. You're telling your body to stay still, stay stiff, and stay there, like you're in punishment. And so if you give yourself the freedom to really just be free. So again, doing some jumping jacks, trying another task, and don't worry about coloring about in the lines. Color outside the lines. Get a coloring book and color outside the lines. Who cares if you're not in the lines? Who cares, right? Paint on a blank canvas. Repaint something. Try something new. Write with your left hand. I was doing that the other day to just change the energetic connections between my mind and my brain. Is like, I'm gonna start writing with my left hand just to switch it up, just to change it up. They say when you brush your teeth in the morning, do it with your less dominant hand, because you're telling your brain to start working in a way that it's not used to. Our brain is a machine. It's a system that re-energizes every single day. When we go to bed, it rests. When we wake up, it starts up again. And it's going to do the same thing over and over if we're not changing the system, if we're not inputting new updates, as we call it, like our cell phones, right? The updates. We got to put the updates in there. We got to put the bug fixers in there. That's what we have to do. And so again, find another way to be creative, or just get your mind off the current task that you're doing. And that could be anything as like, I'm going to get a cup of coffee. It doesn't have to be strenuous. It doesn't have to be extreme. It could be just a simple task to just get up, stretch, allow the flow of just, telling yourself, I got this. Where can I get more creativity? Watch a movie, look at a picture, all the things. There's so many things that can ignite that within you. And you just have to figure out what works for you and be open and free to explore that as well. As creative beings, don't be afraid to try something different, try something new, and try something out of the ordinary that you've never done before. Learn a new instrument. It doesn't even have to be anything crazy. Try a new key on the keyboard or a new string. It could be that creative. It could be, I'm going to learn a song. I'm going to learn a dance move on TikTok. Hey, I'm not really good because I'm a little bit of a millennial, so I'm a bit like the old school stuff. But you know what I mean? And so those are some of the things one of the things you can do, right? And then like Janel did in her meditation, that was another thing, practice mindfulness, practice a meditation of stillness. Because and I know I said, oh my gosh, if you're still and you're focusing on a task, this is a different form of stillness. You're in a stillness where you're like, I have to get this done because I've been guilty of this. I have to get this done. I got to do it right away. And then my eyes start glazing over. Nell knows that happens to me quite often. My eyes start glazing over and I'm like, I am blanking out right now. So I need to practice another form of stillness where I go inward. This is when this form of stillness is inward versus staying still and finishing a task. This is that inward connectivity with your inner voice and tapping into what you need, what you want, and what needs to happen in order for you to clear out that block. And so like Janel did in that meditation, she visualized within that stillness. Use all your senses to reignite the creativity within you. Go to a flower shop, go smell some spices, cook something in your home, boil. What I like to do is boil some herbs at home just to ignite that smell in my home. Like a cookie smell, like cinnamon and anise all together, and cloves and water, and boil that. And like that smell automatically ignites my brain to go, oh, peace, goodness, Christmas, whatever it is. But remember to tap into your different senses. You're not meant to just do one focus of senses, not at all. And so another thing is, finding ways to express positivity within your life. So instead of saying, oh my gosh, I can't do this, I have a roadblock, this won't happen, I won't meet the deadline. Just think of the opposite. Start saying the opposite, because what you're going to do is, again, tap into the possibility rather than the current block. I'm going to finish one page for this writing, task or whatever it is. Pop and live in the possibility of it. Live in the positivity of it and affirm that positivity within you. I'm capable of doing this. Even though I'm coming across this block right now, I know that it will pass. I give myself permission to let this pass. And so now I want to pass it to you. What are some of the tools that have worked with you outside of the meditation and, being free with creativity?
I would also say, and Amanda's talked about this before, is make sure you're careful about what you're listening to or who you're around. And I was just telling Amanda a situation that really upset me last week, where someone said to me, you're not a dancer. And, we were kind of chuckling about it because it sounds funny, but I realized, because I had to sit with that, because it's something that's really helpful to everybody that's listening. It's okay if something bothers you. There's a reason why. Other people don't have to understand it, but you understand it, but then really understand it. What about that bothered you? Because you don't want it to bother you again, and not because you don't want to be vulnerable, but you want to move forward. We want to evolve. We want to get to a place where we're healthy and we're happy, and, things won't have such an impact on us. And I think it really came down to, it reminded me of times where people were trying to rob me of my creativity. It wasn't about being creative. It was about being right. You had to be perfect, or it wasn't good enough. And I was like, why? And so I'm really a champion for not telling somebody they're not this or that. That's not up to me. You come to me and I'm your coach. I want to fly to the moon. Okay, how are we going to do that? That's it. That's all we should ever be saying to each other. Don't you? And if you have, you need to evaluate why you're talking to people like this. Ask yourself, why are you telling somebody else they're not this or that? How rude and how condescending. And it must mean that somewhere down the line, someone said that to you. And that's okay. But all of us have to check ourselves. So I had to check myself. Why am I letting this get to me? And then if a person is speaking that way, they also need to check themselves. Why are they talking to other people that way? So then it might mean you might not be able to be around certain people, unfortunately. So if you notice someone's really crushing your creativity and you're thriving and you're doing good and you're trying to, and then they see that, you don't know, maybe somebody doesn't have that freedom within themselves and it bothers them. I don't know. There's a lot going on, but you don't want to be in rooms with people that are going to crush your creativity. I was with a bunch of dancers recently, and they were talking about how everybody wants to film and dance class now. And it really upset these really professional dancers that have been doing it before TikTok. And they were just like, this is where I come to fail. So they're like, that's why there aren't, like, dancers are struggling and getting better, because they're afraid to fail, because it's going to be captured on video and everybody's going to see it. And it's just that type of thing too. So just be careful what rooms you're in and the people that are around. Are you around people that understand the process of creativity, understand you have to fail 100 times to get there, and that's okay? Or are you around people that are just going to judge you left and right when you don't get it first? If you're around those people, say goodbye.
Yeah, I love that. And thank you for expressing that, because it's all about your community as well. What community are you involved in with your creativity? Sometimes we have to entrust our community to help us express our creativity. And that can be difficult because our creativity is so precious to us, especially as like those dancers that are coming in that room. Their creativity is precious to them. Their dance is a form of expression, a form of, their life. And so for someone to come in and record their failure, even though they don't want to share it, it's like you're sharing something that I'm not willing to share just yet. And I want to be in a safe space where I can fail, where I can fumble, right? You want to be able to fumble in those moments. And so really, I love that you shared that, is really be aware of what community you're involved in. And then also learn the importance of setting healthy boundaries, knowing when to say no, knowing when to walk away, knowing not to take things personally. I talked about it previously in one of our lives about one of the books that I like to read is The 4 Agreements, is don't take anything personal. And I know that's so difficult to do because we are human beings. And like, you say something to me, you're like, what you said, mama? You know what I mean? Like, what you said, right? You take it really to the heart. You're like, because anything you say something about my mama or my family, I take it personal. But at the same time, I recognize that wherever that form of dialogue is coming from that person is not really directed at me. It's a reflection of them and where they're at in their mental state, in their emotional state, in their physical state. And so when I keep that in mind, I recognize, I am not the reality of their opinion. I don't have to be. I can choose to say no. And if you see me as either the villain or someone you hate or someone you admire, that's on you. And I appreciate either, because you're thinking about me. Just saying, right? But it's just the reality of it is that, really, again, be conscientious about the boundaries that you want to set with your friends and family and coworkers, and understand it's a healthy thing to set those boundaries. Don't be afraid to speak up for yourself in those community as well. If you come to a space and you feel like, that space is not safe anymore, communicate to whoever's in charge. That is their responsibility as well, to have you as one of their attendees or their students or their clients to go, oh, you don't feel safe. Okay, well, how can I help? What can I do? And if they're not doing that, then that's not the space for you. And that's okay too. Be able and comfortable to walk away from the places that don't nurture your creativity. Also understand that maybe in that particular moment, it's a challenge for you to overcome that, so that when this does happen again, or if you are in that environment, you know how to reignite and tap into your creativity regardless of what's happening outside of you. That's that self-control. That's that the thing that we have the power over ourselves. We have no other power over other people but ourselves. People pretend to, and people do bad things by trying to gain power from other people. But that's not the community that I want to be a part of. That's not the community I want you to be a part of. And that's not the community that Janelle and I are nurturing. We are nurturing a community of connectivity, of vulnerability, of, reigniting your creativity and collaborating and knowing and uplifting each other, and then really feeling confident in everything that you're doing and everything that you're meant to and everything that you desire to achieve. And so, I hope that all the tools that we talked about today, which is like meditating, stepping away from your creativity, just a few things that could possibly help. Finding a community is going to nurture your creativity, learning to walk away and set healthy boundaries and safe boundaries, doing a mindfulness. One of the things that I love to do, and I've done with my clients and they don't even realize it, is breathing. Boy, oh boy, do we hold in a lot when we don't even realize it when we're talking. And I do it sometimes as well. And I catch myself and ooh, girl, you holding in a breath. You're short on your dialogue. And that's because I'm not allowing the flow. I'm not allowing the creativity of me expressing myself. I'm nervous. I'm unsure of what I want to share. And so I'm rushing. And so some of the things so again, one of the things you could do is mindful breathing. Take a moment, take 5 breaths in, or 5 seconds of deep breaths in, hold for 3, release for 5, and do that a few times. Or the opposite, really taking breaths deep in, because that also allows the oxygenization of our brain to also function better. When we hold in our breaths, we also limit the functions of our organs within our body, and the connectivity between our mind, our heart, our body, soul, and spirit, and all of that. And then, the last thing I'm going to say is find out what environment you're in that's hindering your creativity. And meaning, is it that you need to step away from this particular room to tap into your creativity because it feels like you're surrounded by black walls, or it's a bit darker, it's not nurturing your creativity? Maybe you need to step away and go into the kitchen and change it up a little bit. Maybe you need to go in the bathroom, take a quick shower or something. Find out what it is in your environment that's also hindering your creativity. Maybe it's the fact that you have too much, clothes in the corner, and that congestion, that pile is like, I gotta get it done. Let me focus on this. No, but I gotta wash clothes. No, but let me do that. No, oh, it's a little dusty over there. Our brain is constantly focusing on other tasks that are not quite important to the thing that you're trying to achieve at that moment. And so those are the things that you have to address, is your environment, and then where you're putting your focus and where that distraction is coming from. And I hope that helps, because it's some of the things that I do when I'm stuck in a rut, when I'm in a creativity block, and I'm like, what do I do? How do I get out of this? Oh my gosh. And yes, Nell, you can close it out with some cool stuff.
I just was thinking of something I had to do yesterday. Also, just, as children, we played, as you were saying in the beginning, but it's like yesterday I was feeling blocked. I went outside and I was roller skating. And,
yes.
and just to encourage everybody, just try to tell yourself, I'm telling you, it's really hard for me. It's hard for me sometimes to get up and get going. And I'm a very driven person. I kept laying here on the couch and scrolling on my phone and then doing something else. And then I was like, Janelle, you need to be outside. And I kept resisting. So I did breathe. I had to cry. And then I went outside and I was like, oh, put on my roller skates, started roller skating. And then I started to laugh. And then people were like, oh my God, I love your skates. And someone was like, that's so cool. I want to skate. And then now I'm actually going to have a roller skating gang in my new neighborhood.
Nice.
Another roller skater and a rollerblader. It sounds funny, but you have to get in this childlike state to be creative too sometimes. And it just really, so whatever that means to you, whatever you like doing as a kid, go do it.
Yeah. I love that. And do a task, even in that, like you said, you did the task and you were so angry and stomping about it. Still do it. Still do it. Like, oh, I don't want to do this right now, but I'm gonna do it anyway because you're conflicting your brain. You're contradicting your brain. Like, I don't want to do this, but I'm still gonna do it anyway. And so once you get in a task, it's like, just start. Just start. And that will ignite the creativity. And so thank you everybody for joining us today. I really, really appreciate it. It's been a wonderful conversation. I hope that it helps you reignite that creativity, because we're all meant to be creative. And I don't know what that looks like for you, but give yourself the freedom to be creative. I don't care if it's numbers or painting or putting costumes together for dogs. I don't care what it is, but give yourself the freedom to be creative, because that is one of your greatest powers and your greatest gifts that no one else can ever take from you. And then in that, you find your joy and happiness and your connectivity to your inner truth and your inner authenticity.
What are your thoughts about this episode?
Drop it in the comments and let us know what you want to dive into next.
Subscribe, like, share, and click the link below to book a free consultation. And
We'll see you next time.